I saw the players starting to walk to the center of the pitch. I ended the loop, and then the ending guitar riff, like the little guitar motif at the end, played out, and then the crowd started to go, cheer. One of my colleagues says, and you can hear it on the video on TikTok, he says, "This isn't real," which is crazy because it was just such a surreal moment. And I'm just, grateful that I was able to cultivate that moment, I guess, for football and the world.
We kunnen niet aan Pirates of the Caribbean denken zonder gelijk de klanken van Hans Zimmer te horen. Zelfs de mensen die Super Mario nooit hebben gespeeld, kennen het bekende deuntje. En in de hitserie Stranger Things zou je de muziek zelfs als een van de personages kunnen beschouwen. Dit is allemaal mediamuziek. Ook in Nederland zijn er mediacomponisten die op hoog niveau muziek maken. Voor films, series, games en reclames. Van Netflix-serie tot Nederlandse hitfilm. En daarom zetten we hen graag in de spotlight met deze podcast. In deze ADE-special duiken we dieper in de rol die muziek speelt in sport. En dan vooral in voetbal. Niet alleen draagt muziek bij aan de sfeer in stadions, maar ook aan de identiteit van clubs en bonden, wat zorgt voor verbinding met de fans. En hoe daarin de dancemuziek een groeiende rol speelt, bespreek ik met hoofdrolspelers uit het voetbal. Grayson Repp, producer, DJ en music director bij FIFA. Tom Roberts, founder van Shoot Music. En Diederik van Zessen, founder van Sports Sounds. Mijn naam is Amber Owner en dit is Buma Music in Motion Behind the Track. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you.
Happy to be here. What an intro.
Well, we are sitting close to the Johan Cruyff Arena, where the football happens in Amsterdam. It's the perfect place to talk about music and sports. We are in the Jazz Hotel, so maybe you hear a little bit about the surroundings, a little bit echoey, but very glad to have you here at ADE, because we all have like a tight schedule. How are you up till now? How are you doing? Because it's the second day of ADE. Tom, what is your experience up till now?
Well, it's been a whirlwind 24 hours. I actually have never been to ADE, so it's been, a new experience, but I just had no idea there was so much going on. Obviously, I'd had a look at the schedule before I arrived, but just amazing number of events and so many sort of spin-off events as well. I've been bumping into people from the music business from different parts of the world who are all off to different things. And it's just, so much energy. It's amazing.
Yeah. And what about you, Grayson? Did you have
I
a
am
good
on
night?
the full Amsterdam diet. I woke up at 3:45 a.m. from Berlin this morning and made my way over yesterday. I arrived at 8 and then went straight to the hotel. Went to our lovely panel, and same thing, honestly, there's just so much great energy in the city right now, seeing friends from near and abroad. And it's amazing to be in the center of dance music in the Mecca, because this is the place growing up for me. All the DJs that I love are Dutch, so this is the place to be. So happy to be here.
Good to have you. Yeah, and you don't have to thank me. You have to thank Diederik, because he's the reason we are all here.
The
because
man.
Yesterday
always on an Amsterdam diet.
Yesterday
eating French fries from the corner.
Yesterday you organized the panel about this subject, and then I was like, we need to also share that with the people who follow our podcast. Diederik, why did you want to talk about this subject?
Generally because these are two of my favorite topics, or maybe my two big passions, I would say. Football and music. Let's bring them together, and I think they are also very much alike. And yesterday, I think in the panel we kind of agreed on that. There are a lot of similarities between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like sports, music. It's like a big world around there. Mm-hmm. But if you look at yourself when you were a little boy, when you were growing up, what is like a moment which brings you back? Like, this is where it all started for me. That I wanted to work in music and also in sports music, in sports.
Ooh, music and sports. That's a good question. Obviously, in the Netherlands, the big World and Euro tournaments, they're always broadcasted by the NOS, the Dutch national broadcaster, and they try to create an anthem for that, right? So then under they montage the good goals with a certain song. And for me, maybe the songs that worked for me were, for example, Wir sind Helden. That was the German tournament 2006 that we were playing in Germany, and I think Ich will da sein, wenn es passiert, the German song. So that's one of the songs. If I hear that, I'm back in that summer, right? Yeah. Immediately seeing the Netherlands play there. It wasn't a great tournament, by the way, for the Netherlands, but we were there.
Yeah, you have that feeling, absolutely. Yeah, you can laugh, Grayson, but what about you? What is that moment in your life? where you
Moment
were-
in my life. So interestingly enough, I started off as an athlete. I was a swimmer and ice hockey player. But my favorite video game was FIFA 98 Road to the World Cup. You know, so, you know, the main theme song in that, I believe, was Song 2 by Blur, which is still the goal song for France, which is very interesting as I was able to play that a few times in 2022. And then the Crystal Method, and that was my introduction to electronic music. So beyond that, athlete until I was about 20 years old. Then I got into music. Growing up, I'd curated all the mixtapes, so I think music was always in the background for me, but it just wasn't in the forefront. You know, I moved, after I retired from swimming, I moved home, dropped out of school, started DJing, and then I've DJed for about 10 years, and then I got involved with FIFA. So it's kind of like this perfect marriage, for full circle moment, you know, becoming an athlete, then a musician, now being able to marry the two together. It's been a wonderful journey. So it's just, you know, something I never thought I was going to be able to do, but here we are. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
FIFA 98 was the best FIFA as well.
Agreed. 100%, you know, and I think I played with Brazil every single game. And I remember my mom being like, okay, it's like time to get off the computer. Because, you know, this was like in the PC days. So Windows 95.
Yeah, but Brazil 98. For us, that tournament, Brazil, is very much a nightmare memory. I mean, for all Dutchies listening, Van Hooijdonk, extra time, should have been a penalty. Should have been a penalty, man.
Still waking up at night, right?
Oh, yes,
Crying.
absolutely. Yeah, Van Hooijdonk with his hair all dyed white.
Oh,
Oh, we were so close to that final. We
Yeah.
would have been hammered by France anyway.
that's true.
That's something that's
Yeah,
You don't
that's
know.
true. That's true.
solace.
Yeah, sports, music, it's all about the emotions. Tom, for you, where did it start for you? Like putting those two worlds together?
Well, I was a DJ and a radio plugger. Sport, you know, sport was always part of my life, but I was actually plugging music to music media, which is the main way that music gets heard and is promoted. But a lot of artists I worked with were just infatuated with football, and a number of those artists didn't really want to talk about their third or fourth albums and you know, and some of the sort of generic music questions that we were finding ourselves in at a lot of interviews. And so we started to pivot towards football. And that was bands like Oasis, you know, DJs like Paul Oakenfold and you know, different genres of music, but artists that primarily loved football. And so I found myself just booking more and more football interviews, and it's sort of one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was turning around to the music industry and saying, is anyone going to go around and plug sport, or am I going to have to go and do it? So, you know, with sort of pressure.
Somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me.
Exactly. And so I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to plug some artists and actually sort of have a bit of a go at it, really. It's kind of how it started.
What was the first one? What was your starting point?
Well, I mean, we started to sort of send music to sport DJs and things back in the 90s. So we would send music to, you know, Manchester United, for example, someone like Alan Keegan, he's a legendary DJ there. And he would play the odd record that we would send him. I mean, it was a bit of a new concept then, but, you know, we were probably getting things like Dario G and, you know, some real classic dance tunes into stadiums quite, you know, around that period. And then obviously Fatboy Slim started to drop tracks that really still resonate now, obviously, but really changed the game for us because suddenly you had, you know, a new genre, really. I mean, he'd collaborated, you know, he'd combined a new genre, which at the time, I suppose, was sort of big beat and things, but then suddenly turned into almost a football genre. And that suddenly gave us, you know, a growing pool of contacts to send music to. And then that led into television and other areas over a period of time. I set Shoot Up 17 years ago as a standalone business. That's when, you know, 17 years ago was pretty much the day I suddenly went, you know, someone has to go out there and give all their time to this. Because it was always like a part-time thing, sending a few things to sport DJs. And so really within a space of about 2 weeks, I went from not plugging sport music media to only plugging sport. And that's what I've done ever since. It's been an obsession.
Yeah, you saw that opportunity and it was a match made in heaven.
Yeah, and actually, I'd always done lots of different things. So I'd been in management, I'd, been plugging, I'd been DJing, I'd been wearing lots of different hats. And then suddenly I had this, I suddenly had this one very clear road that I could see lots of opportunity down. But really it was the artists that were saying, we want to go down this road. We want to go down this road. We want to get played in this stadium. We want to be on that TV show. We want to, and as I got round to see more and more people in the sport world, you know, like anything in music plugging and probably other areas of marketing, the more people you hang out with, the more conversations you have about stuff, and the more, I just went around exciting people about music, which is what I'd done previously, rather than going to a radio station and saying, please put this on your playlist, it's brilliant, and talking about the track. I was turning up and saying, I love this football team, and, listen to this, how this could work in this montage. So, I've had the privilege of doing that for a long time now.
Yeah.
I'm still loving it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Looking at your work, I asked you all to bring some examples, which you also discussed yesterday during the panel. You also do the music for Match of the Day. You just showed me a little video of yesterday's Champions League's night. Diederik and I don't want to talk about it because of Ajax, but please elaborate on how do you get involved with.
Yeah, luckily that montage wasn't anything to do with Chelsea scoring that many goals. It was a.
I can just walk away.
Okay, maybe
subject, you guys.
I know. I'm sorry. No,
Wow.
it was. So I mean, in terms of a show like Match of the Day, originally those shows, which are so Match of the Day is a program. Just to explain this to listeners, is the program that's the main highlight show in the UK. So. It's generally on a Saturday and Sunday night with Premier League, but it also has a Champions League version now in the week. And it's the most watched highlight show, probably, I imagine, in the world. I don't know if I have that on record.
Even we know the tune, right?
Yeah.
But it's well known.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's very well known. And so that was one of our early targets. And I was going into places like BBC Sport instead of BBC Radio, and seeing a whole new group of people who were sitting in a completely different type of office. This is, winding right back to the beginning of Shoot Music, whereas I would have gone to a radio station and sat in a booth and played a song on a really good sound system. I was walking into an office of people who were, not used to having a music plugger turn up, and hadn't, although music was used on some of those shows, it probably wasn't considered in the way that it would be on a radio station, a music radio station. So over a period of time, I was going back and forth to TV stations and just turning up, really, booking myself in to see certain people, but then getting around the building. And it turned into this situation where there was nowhere to play music to people like at radio. So I bought these football-shaped speakers and from this company that had just launched.
Is it like,
it's the early days.
It was not Bluetooth, right?
It's the early days of like Bluetooth speakers, yeah.
Oh, really?
It was one where you
Okay.
could put your phone on it. And
That one.
it was a football. It was in the shape of a
It's
football.
like a dock.
It's like a dock. Yeah, it was a dock. You could charge your phone on it or your
iPod.
iPod.
The original
Oh,
iPod,
iPod,
yeah.
yeah.
It was
You
probably an
bribed the
iPod.
music editors by giving them.
Yeah,
That is the best
I
gift.
went round with this thing. I plugged it into people's computers, and then I started giving it to a few people. And someone, at the BBC, I remember, we'd just been working with Rick Mail, this comedian, and I got one of those signed. And I was like, you should have this on your desk. Basically, he was a big Rick Mail fan, and it was kind of going around to these different producers and seeing different people. We then had somewhere to play some music, and joining the dots to now, that's turned into a big pool of producers that every week we talk to, and that's based on relationships. It's getting to know people, enthusing them about the music, and then we've become this filtering system, which I was trying to build back then, where I wasn't just turning up and saying playing any old thing. I was saying, you've got Man United v Liverpool this weekend. You should be playing. Could you consider playing this song? It was a plugging process.
So what's important for music to work on a show like that, the Match of the Day? What should it have to tip in the emotions of the viewers?
Well, you can't. I mean, with these sort of shows, you have different sections. So there might be like an intro that they want to be really emotional. So you could have something that's really slow and it could be a really wide range of genres that could fulfill that emotional moment. You quite often get that in these shows. It could be a closing montage, it could be slow-mo, but generally the majority of the pieces of music that are chosen are pacey dance tunes that work in cuts for goal montages and skill promos. And so actually, like, BPM wise, like 120, 125 range works really well. And then like the drum and bass side of things, sort of mid 170s to talk about, sort of, terminology in terms of where things are really cut. It's kind of, if you're a producer sitting there and you've got this 174 BPM track, it actually works really well with the way, the rhythm of football and the way people try and cut these exciting montages together. Because these TV producers are trying to make their TV content exciting, and we're obviously trying to get our music used, but I think it sort of usually falls between those two areas for us.
Yeah, there's nothing on my left side, Grayson.
It's all about like an assault on all senses, truly. Like that's what dance music does. I think when you're moving along at that tempo, people are up in their seats. They want to dance. The players are into the mood if they're warming up. Like it's just, I think that's what ties it all together. Being here at ADE, This is the mecca of dance music. So,
but I believe that especially for montages, people are they have more tolerance for genres that maybe they won't be playing usually at home. So, for example, your granddad who watches Match of the Day, he won't switch it off when there's a serious dance beat, but he will switch his radio off if he gets 3.5 minutes of Paul Oakenfold. Don't you think?
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, Paul is quite, let's say, he's quite friendly, also granddad friendly maybe, but let's say something really big whole EDM-ish. It works for a montage, right?
Well, I mean, I would suggest that, like you're saying this with like the big international tournaments, actually, where, there is real selection of different music used. I think that, broadcasters do try and cater for as many different people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will, they won't only play dance tunes on there. And I think if there's anything that's too heavy, then they do flag it with us. I mean, like we've had tunes recently that have maybe have sounded a bit like a fire alarm or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's been the feedback, especially on the drum and bass tip. If it sounds too stroby and too like you might think your microwave's going off or your cooker, your fire alarm, then yeah. So that sound is considered in that way. They don't want anything that's too in your face.
Yeah.
I think you want to break the pattern just a little bit so people pay attention, because I think that's the point of like montage and stuff like that, is to get people to tune in. And if they hear something just a little bit different than what they're used to, they're gonna watch it and be interested.
Which is why it's so different from radio programming, because at radio programming, especially if they test the music, and Tom is nodding because this is his business and used to be his business even more when he was still a radio player. They want music that is music that people will not turn their radios off. So the music should blend in instead of really stand out.
Yeah, I think with sport montages, football montages, people are there to watch the football primarily. We obviously, the benefit for the artist is to be associated with, that football team usually. But it's more than that. It's the creation of like a passionate moment. And some people will think, I want to know what that song is, and they'll Shazam it, or they'll want to know more. Some people just won't acknowledge the fact that that piece of music was made by somebody, probably because they're too busy.
Sometimes in shows you also see on the screen you'll see a credit. But I don't think they do that at BBC Match of the Day, for example, do they?
Yeah, we have this. The goal of the month is like our favorite VT to get, and that's because it's a long, it's a song length montage, and it's got a credit on it, and it's just the perfect positioning because it's at the end of, you usually get it at the end of the month when we're looking to probably highlight a song that's been really popular across the area, and it sort of ties it all together.
But is that also like the revenue for the artists that they get played on such a big TV show? Or is there also like a payout, or how does that work if their music gets used?
Yeah, so everything we generally do is under blanket, under TV blanket, which means, the TV companies pay a certain rate for the amount of time quantified with their audience. So we don't really ever get to see the, how that is accounted in terms of the statements for artists and things. But it makes the clearance very simple. But you have to, in order to comply with TV blankets, and I know it's the same here, you have to be fully registered with your Performing Rights Society.
Yeah, this organization
that's
called
why,
BUMA.
Yeah, where we're working for. Yeah.
Is that the Dutch? Is Buma the Dutch?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
that's
welcome.
super interesting. Okay,
You
cool.
know,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of the time people don't realise that either. They'll send us music and we'll be like, look, you need to get, this has to be fully registered. So that's quite a big part of our job, is making sure that people understand the complicated,
Yeah, and also for the fan base of artists, is it also do you measure how many, like, if there's a growth in Spotify hits for a certain artist, or?
Oh, well, I mean, labels tell us pretty quickly when they're we often get emails. I mean, I've had emails this morning from people saying, was there a TV used last night? And that's because there was music that was on Champions League highlights last night. So there's different metrics for us, but you definitely see an impact from TV synchronization to the DSPs. That it's, we used to really rely on Shazam figures, because we could say you had this many Shazams and things. Shazam isn't such a metric now, but that still is a play. We tend to find that we try and join up lots of things in our area. So we're trying to get TV sync at the same time as radio sound beds, at the same time as usually a piece of promo activity with the artist itself. And so we're looking for moments where we can get spikes into, all of our activities usually kind of midweek into Sunday, and then it dies down on Monday and Tuesday, and it's like these because we're trying to build that impact moment.
Nice. Let's listen a little bit to one of the examples, the BBC match of today.
Right, 4 games on tomorrow's match of the day. They turn the game on its head. Emphatic.
It's Hudson-Odoi.
What a goal! Watkins, match me, he scored. Sarr scores. Oh, would you believe it? Gyökeres, she's done really well.
All right, let's go from like our lazy TV viewers to inside the stadium, where also the magic happens. Because Grayson, you're our producer, DJ, music director by FIFA, but you're DJ in the stadium as well.
That is right. That's correct. Yeah. So 2022, I was on the pitch, which was, incredibly exciting to be right next to the players and feel the atmosphere down from pitch level. I don't think there's anything like it unless you've been down there to experience it. It's like, you got 50,000 people on top of you. It's quite interesting. And other than that, I've been lucky enough to curate mixes for FIFA for their junior tournaments. And when we get to like the big matches, whether it be international or whatever, I come and I do my thing in the stadium for 3-4 hours.
How did you get involved to do that, to be the DJ, to be the artist?
It's kind of a funny story. So like I said, former athlete, a good friend of mine who's also a former athlete as well, who's a Canadian Olympian, he sent me a message in 2021 and he said, hey, my dad is looking for a floor manager for the FIFA Arab Cup. At that point, we were, middle of COVID, so I hadn't worked in a couple of years. So I'm like, I need to do something. I need to pay my rent. So I thought, you know what, I'll get over to Qatar. I ended up speaking to my now boss at FIFA, and he said, hey, actually, we're thinking of introducing DJs. Is that something you're interested in? And I said, absolutely. And I come from a club background. I DJed for 15 years. I've been making music as well. And I showed up to Qatar 2 weeks later, and they gave me like a drive of music. It sounded like it'd been ripped off of YouTube. It wasn't as quality as I would traditionally play, and I thought, you know what, I really have nothing to lose here. So the first game, I believe, was 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and I think it was Mauritania versus Egypt, so wasn't a lot of fans in the stadium, and honestly, I just went for it. Like, I played like I was in a nightclub, so I played all the big bangers, like, Swedish House Mafia to David Guetta to, honestly, everything that I'd done in the past. And somehow FIFA was like, we love this. Would you like to be our guy? So they kind of created this job from scratch for me, and I've been doing it ever since.
And did you get afterwards, because they asked you, because you were the DJ and you were really good and they loved it. And afterwards, did they get like any briefing? Did it give you any briefing or any requirements on How did
Honestly,
you do
they
your job?
kind of just let me do my thing. So I'm super
Okay.
grateful that they've let me do that. I believe that just, when you're working with a big corporation like them, it's just so vast. They didn't really have an in-house music person that curates on the in-venue side. Like they have a commercial person that does music for sync and stuff like that. But my expertise is in stadium DJing. So yeah, they've been really great with it. Obviously, there are requests that come in sometimes. I can tell you a funny story from 2022. I believe I'd already started DJing and Argentina was playing, and someone came down through on the show caller and they asked me, hey, there's been a request from Messi's family. Do you think you can play this? I'd already had my USBs plugged in, so I had to open up my laptop, turn around, have my extra USB, obviously play the song, and I'm like, okay, all good, everyone's happy. Yes, everyone's happy, so great job. So sometimes,
What was the
spontaneous.
request?
Yeah, of course.
What
I-
was the
I
request?
admittedly don't even remember. I don't even
Oh my
remember.
God.
Yeah, because it was just like at that, like 2022 was interesting because it was our system wasn't as robust yet. Everything that I'd uploaded was just like on a Google Drive, and it was about 1,500 to 2,000 songs. And like a lot of things came down the pipe, like during the tournament, like, okay, we want a different mashup of this for like the player entry, et cetera, et cetera. And I think at that point, towards the end of the tournament, I was just a little bit burnt out. So I was just like, you know what, like, just send it to me. I'm going to play it. It was definitely an Argentinian
It
record.
was not
I'll-
Adele with Water Under the Bridge.
Yeah, I'll have to find it. We can talk about it on the next podcast
Yeah.
after the World Cup 26. But that was an interesting moment for sure. But for the most part, they just say, you know what, Grayson, we trust you. Just go for it. So I've been really lucky just to have some autonomy with my work, which I
Yeah.
enjoy.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And can you explain to me, because there are so many different moments which are really important if you're going to also as a fan, but also for the players and everybody who's like in the stadium. Like you have like the warm up, you have like the halftime afterwards. The one team is winning. There are all kind of emotions. What are the key moments where you use different kind of music, maybe, or how do you?
Absolutely. So generally what I do is, traditionally doors open -3, so 3 hours to kick off. And that first hour is very relaxed. So you're essentially playing for the staff in the stadium because not a lot of fans have come in yet. So it's, I would say it's, these days it's been like a lot of Afro house, very relaxed, maybe some remixes. The second hour, I usually move into like a more pop. So Justin Timberlake, sing-along stuff that people know.
Yeah.
I would say 100 tempo to 115 BPM. That's kind of where I sit. Little Bruno Mars, stuff like that. Stuff that people know. And then the last hour is usually a power hour.
Yeah.
So that's when I crank it up. That's what, like 120 to 130. It's like high energy remixes, just high energy songs. I think and you can really feel the energy in the stadium when you do that. More people are coming in, and it also depends because my bread and butter's been international. So sometimes in that last hour, if I have Panama versus Mexico, I'm playing Bad Bunny for an hour straight, and they're loving it.
Oh my
Right?
God.
So it's like it all depends on the
Yeah.
match, and that's what's been really interesting for me as a Canadian who's previously called it soccer. Is I've been lucky enough to experience music from all over the world and learn all these new genres, and it's just helped my DJ career as well outside of FIFA and my producing career. So it's like I've really fallen in love with all different genres, and super grateful for all of it.
Yeah, let's go to that one special moment from that FIFA World Cup, the final. It was between Argentina and France. It was 3-3, and then there were penalties to make the decision. You played the XX with intro. Let's listen to it for a bit. How did you come up with this number, Grayson?
It's a really good question. It's the penultimate question for me. Honestly, I like I said yesterday on our panel, I think the music you listen to from 16 to 24 is very calcifies in your life and calcifies it's almost involved with your personality. And that was a very special record for me. It came out the year that I graduated high school, and then it was in a very important movie to me called Project X, which is essentially about a big house party, and I think that's one of the reasons why I started DJing. Like there's all these interesting moments in my life that I feel like led me to this point. And I've always based my sets off of feeling. Like if a song gives me a feeling, that's where I plug it. Admittedly, like I don't think anyone thought that we were going to go 3-3 in Depends and have that moment. And, it was sitting there in a playlist called Anthems. And I had a bunch of other things in there. I had Eye of the Tiger, etc. And I just felt like that was the right thing. I turned it on. And the stadium fell silent for a few moments. and then the beat starts to kick in with the guitars, and then like I was talking about yesterday, I think there was about a 6-minute moment. The song's only 2 minutes long, so I had to loop 45 seconds of it. And as a DJ, like, you never know, like, sometimes, because when you're looping live without a computer, because I don't use Serato or anything like that, I play on USBs. I'm listening with my ears, not visually. You can mess that up. And in front of 1.5 billion people on TV and 80,000 live, it was a pretty precarious moment.
That close to Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, it was exactly.
It's like,
And so, and what ended up happening was it was honestly a dream loop. It was the perfect loop. I was watching. I pressed like the loop out, and honestly, it couldn't have gone down better. And then I saw the players starting to walk to the center of the pitch. I ended the loop, and then the ending guitar riff, like the little guitar motif at the end, played out, and then the crowd started to go cheer. One of my colleagues says, and you can hear it on a video on TikTok, he says, "This isn't real," which is crazy because it was just such a surreal moment. And I remember my show caller and Mayor just being like, "That was the perfect song, so thank you."
Wow.
And that was it. And then obviously, we saw Argentina take it all after that. So it's been interesting because I feel like it's become a song in football after the fact. And I'm just, grateful that I was able to cultivate that moment, I guess, for football and the world.
Yeah, and for yourself.
Yeah.
All dreams came true.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, truly,
Yeah.
for sure.
Amazing. And for the execs, did you hear anything from them?
The execs in FIFA? Not necessarily. You know what? Like I said, it's very compartmentalized. So I think the Stadium Entertainment Group, absolutely. Everyone was like,
I think you meant the band, the execs.
Oh, the
sorry,
band, the band. Sorry. So nothing from the band. So I'll tell you an interesting story. So actually, the day after the World Cup, I landed in Berlin from Qatar, and I drove straight to Utrecht to pick up my puppy. And that night in Utrecht is when I posted the video on TikTok. I woke up in the morning and I had 600,000 views. 2 hours later, it was taken down. And so I was like, oh, interesting. So I was kind of heartbroken about this because I was like, oh, this was, such an amazing moment. But people were messaging me about it because they'd watched it on TV or, because to me, like I said, I picked the song in the moment. I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't thinking about anybody else except for what I thought was just the right moment. And I was very heartbroken that it couldn't stay up online because I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And people were telling me it was pretty cool. And I actually reposted it last month. And I got 5 million views. So it's, I don't know, maybe it's in 3 years later, we were able to do it. But sorry, that was a very long answer to your question. I haven't heard from the band. They're heroes of mine, of course. Like I said, they were in my life at a very pivotal moment in my life, being 17 years old. And I hope one day I do get to chop it up with them about that song. And, you never know. Maybe they'll come and perform it live sometime.
I feel like a 2026 remix coming together here for the World Cup.
Yeah. Potentially.
Yeah.
I like that would be a dream come true for me. That'd be a dream collaboration, and it's I mean, when I think about it, I get goosebumps a little bit. So
Wow, that's amazing. That's so nice. How important is music to for example, for FIFA or for a match or for a moment, but also for TV or also for the club like Ajax to create an identity for a brand? How important is music for that, in your opinion?
Go ahead. I like internationally, my goal is always to make as many people happy as I possibly can. So that means just staying neutral and playing songs, whether it be like for a Spanish team or for an English team or a German team. I try to, mix equally for all of them. In terms of brand building, I've actually released a remix that was of the official theme for the World Cup 26 for my hometown, Vancouver. So I just, for me, they were like, oh, like what kind of music would you play in Vancouver? So I made it very, I mixed in like Foley sounds of like an eagle calling, waves rolling, like stuff like that. So I think we were able to build like a very Vancouver brand. But other than that, I'm not familiar with club football stuff. So maybe you guys can lead into that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Well,
Diederik.
we are sitting here on a hangover morning for every Ajax Amsterdam fan, I think. But yesterday evening, I was surprised when I was watching the game against Chelsea. Positively surprised. But the away fans, 3,000 Amsterdam people were in London. And they were at the second half in the pouring rain. It was a 5-1 already for the home team, which was not Ajax. And then I heard them sing almost the second half, the entire second half, singing "Dit is mijn club, mijn ideaal," which was once written as a comedy sketch, but it's a song. It's by Kees Prins. It's always being played after every match, and the main line that everybody sticks with is "Het kan dooien, het kan vriezen." There's good times, there's bad times, but it's always my club.
Yeah.
And it's and that yesterday gave me goosebumps, and I think everyone who saw these guys yelling like, okay, we are maybe not an all-time low, we are at a low as Ajax very much, but we're still here singing the chants, and it's a song. And probably yesterday it was streamed more than ever. Even though it was such a low. So that's dipping into the right emotion, even if the emotion is like negative emotion, maybe even cynical. But it turns it into something, like mutual, something you can share.
Yeah, they can all rally together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It can create hope.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom.
The music that's being used in stadiums has never been more important, I think, in terms of, clubs have recognised that not only does it, affect their atmosphere, but the fact that fans have all got, this incredible technology with them, and that, social media and the ability to broadcast and talk about things as fans is linking up with music. Clubs, are increasingly seeing the benefit of playing music that, we can then link up with an artist to repost something about it and produce more social activity for them, or just it creates more touch points with their audience. So they're coming in to look at the club's own social channels more, and we live in a world of stats, don't we? So it's it has many benefits now. I think the music.
I mean, that's stats, but also like financially, you sell more drinks if you get in early. If you get the people to come and see the first hour of Grayson's show instead of the last, they'll be there for longer. So they'll spend more money inside the stadium. They'll buy a pint here, and in UK you're not allowed to, so you can buy a Coke.
But you can buy it outside the stadium.
But then you won't hear Grayson.
Well, you might. It depends what I'm playing.
It needs to be piped outside of the stadium in the fan area.
Yeah. So it's also commercially attractive, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're moving into an era of where entertainment is king, right? And that's what's going to happen, I think, for the next World Cup in the USA, Canada, and Mexico. It's that's the king of entertainment, so it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, I'm also interesting about the dynamics between the Northern Americas and Mexico, and
100%.
The different vibes of music.
Well,
right?
I think that's why it's going to be really exciting for us, because it's football in Mexico. I mean, it's as serious as it is in anywhere else. So it offers us a really cool experience to mix in all these amazing artists. And to be completely honest, a lot of the big Latin artists like Bad Bunny, etc., J Balvin, like their songs and albums go #1 in the USA. Like every time that I've DJ'd a Mexico match in the USA, it's a home game for Mexico every single time. So it's an amazing atmosphere, and it's also going to be really fun to bring it back home to Canada, because there's a lot of amazing Canadian artists that should deserve more time in the spotlight, I believe, and we'll definitely be showcasing that.
That's amazing. Talking about the football culture, that's also in Brazil. And Diederik, you had the pleasure to work with some Brazilian guys, with Benvenido, I say.
Benvenido Anthony.
Yeah, I'm so bad with my Portuguese. But can you elaborate a bit on that? Because that, I think, was a special project from Ajax to...
to welcome this player, this new signing that they made. And there was a little bit of a gap between the moment that they announced his signing and the moment that he arrived literally on Schiphol here on the airport. And on the day that he was going to arrive, they were planning some kind of like welcome, but also especially for the fans, of course, on social media and stuff. So the Ajax media team, the creative team, they thought of the idea to do something together with the Brazilians that were already signed here. There were two of them, Danilo and David Neres. And they thought of maybe making a summer jam, like a Brazilian-themed summer jam. And it was only an idea, but I picked it up somewhere at the coffee machine conversation or something. And I thought, like, okay, let's do this. Let's take this seriously, guys. So we found this emerging Dutch-Brazilian artist called Sarita Lorena. She's actually not an Ajax fan. She's
Oh no.
she's from Rotterdam.
They are here. Yeah, there are people who are not an Ajax fan.
Yeah, no, but she was amazing. She really invited us to her studio together with these guys, and there was such a click because these are young people. They are both very ambitious in their own field, in their own. Like these are two football players who like the music. Of course, they liked her. It was just a very nice day. It was one of the most fun days I had working for Ajax because we were having fun and we were making something that was, well, at the end of the day, it was going to be fun. And maybe it was going to be something special. And well, it went absolutely viral, internationally even. And we released the song officially. So it's actually released on Ajax as a music label. And it's still streaming. So it was a cool campaign, even though Anthony left the club after, I think, 2 years. It was being played in the stadiums everywhere.
Yeah, it was
a
really
cool campaign.
Já assinou o contrato pra jogar futebol, já tá tudo preparado. Chuta a bola, faz golaço, não tem time melhor. Mas uma coisa que queremos te dizer: bem-vindo, Anthony. Nós esperamos por ti, juntos unidos assim. Seja bem-vindo aqui. Bem-vindo, Anthony. Nós esperamos por ti, juntos unidos assim. Seja bem-vindo aqui.
Os dias foram duros, trabalha muito. Sempre faz isso com muito orgulho. Você tem nosso apoio, mano, isso juro. Nunca esqueça que aqui tá todo mundo junto. Alezu, tudo bem? Mano, se tu brilha, nós brilhamos também. Estamos ansiosos de te ver, então vem agora, vem. Né, 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 né.
Chuta a bola, faz golaço, não tem time melhor. Mas uma coisa que queremos te dizer: bem-vindo, Anthony. Nós esperamos por ti.
It was really showing off on the Ajax brand, but also on the players individual, because I think David Neres was also really a player who everybody loved.
Everybody loved him.
Yeah,
He was a darling.
So
Yeah.
it was, and also did it also paid off for
Sarita.
yeah.
I think it did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, I know for a fact. Yeah, still, of course, because I'm still in contact for the business side of this. So no, they loved it as well. And for her, it was also our idea to have some kind of like feedback in Brazil, of course, and it did stream there. But that's funny because then I found out that there's a difference also between streaming income from Brazil and the Netherlands. A stream in Brazil is way is
Lucrative.
no,
or less?
No, less lucrative. No. That's it's you can go deep into this Spotify machine, but that's another podcast.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
really
really
interesting.
How much time you guys got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's. I just suppose that in Brazil there are that just the subscription is less expensive.
Yeah, that's true. We already talked about it in a different podcast, I think, because otherwise I will send you some links if you need it. Just look me up because I know a lot about this, but let's not talk about it for now. Tom, do you want to add something or ask something to Diederik?
No, you've got me thinking about Spotify streaming now and
Okay.
different parts of the world.
The wheels are turning.
The wheels are turning. Let's look to the future because it's ADE and we're all on a tight schedule. So let's look a little bit to the future. For you guys, what do you think? What comes in mind if I ask you about the opportunities to have more intertwine between the music and the sports culture and the football culture? What are the opportunities?
Well, I'll jump in here. I think that there's a couple of points I was going to make here, actually. I think, firstly, I mentioned just now that, everyone has a multiplex cinema in their pocket with their telephone now, and, the ability to create and be part of things more than ever. And I think, we are seeing with fan groups, more and more synergy about discussing what songs to sing and what old songs to bring back to the terraces and that kind of thing. I think with the technology that some DSPs have and will increasingly implement, the ability to sort of make up your own mashups and record your own your own vocals, lots of thousands of people singing over the top of a song. I think we're going to see that. I think that sort of fan movement's going to continue to grow. We already see this with a lot of Premier League clubs where they've got their own social media accounts where thousands of, like someone like Tottenham Hotspur have got Spurs song sheet, which has got thousands of followers, and you can see the fans talking about what they're going to sing. So I think there's going to be a big movement there, but I think there's also a big play with sport clubs and stadiums and DJs where linking up with artists to create more content, because I just think as stadiums become more vibrant with the music they're using, a lot of our artists want to lean in on that. They're DJs themselves a lot of the time, and I think that sort of big collaboration between DJs and artists is definitely going to get bigger.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Tom 100%. And I also think the relationship between the athletes and the musicians is like synonymous. It's almost like I think athletes sometimes want to be rappers, and it goes vice versa as well. So I think all those relationships, a good example is I see Rudiger from Germany is really good friends with Luciano. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be a lot of crossover in the near future. And I think that's really exciting for the fans and for performances and for sync and plug and all that kind of stuff. I honestly think we're headed in the right direction. I think entertainment, it is about the football at the end of the day, but the entertainment leading into the match, I think that's what people really come to they're getting the full experience of everything they want to see. So I think, we're heading in the right direction, and that's it.
Nice.
Exciting.
Diederik?
Well, for me, I think the best thing would be if all departments at a club or a football organization would somehow embrace it together. And I can just dream of a 360 approach where you have, for example, a performance of an artist before a big match, but it's also the song that's being used in the campaign video. It's also the song maybe that's gonna be used, the lyrics on merch. So it's all departments, marketing, events, and also the media department. Everybody believes in that certain track, and it creates momentum for the track, but also for the club, for the national team.
Yeah.
That's what I dream of.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Any more dreams to share?
Lunch.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so
Ready to
much,
eat.
guys. Oh, Tom wants to.
No, I was going to say that there are just many more sport dreams. There's so many opportunities, I think, with music and football that are only just being discovered. I think the player side of things, I think it's really interesting. Yesterday, talking about the Dutch football team song. There's so many other levels to go to, I think.
Absolutely.
Next year maybe you should have a panel that's about people bringing their sport anthems in.
Oh my God, I love it. Let's do that, Diederik. Let's arrange that. Thank you so much, guys. I think there's a lot more to talk about, but just we keep it short so there's something to say for next year. Have a happy ADE. Enjoy your time in Amsterdam. And looking forward.
Thanks, Summer.
Yeah, thank you so much. Het werk van onze gasten vind je in de show notes en volg of abonneer je op deze podcast als je nieuwsgierig bent naar de verhalen van andere componisten en mediamakers.